Throughout William Faulkner's As I Lay Dying, characters grow and crumble as their personal beliefs become larger and bear more influence on their lives. Many of the Bundrens, the main family in the novel, hold beliefs deviating from the teachings of Christianity. Their beliefs lean more towards ideas that include rebirth and skepticism, while the people around them accept more traditional Christian teachings. The different beliefs that drive the characters of this novel create a unique and complex atmosphere that spurs events and contributes to the development and understanding of the characters through their perceptions of themselves and their ideas about the world around them. This book follows the Bundrens on their journey to bury the family matriarch, Addie. In a scene that takes place before her death, Addie has a conversation with the Bundrens' neighbor, Cora, which reveals the stark differences in the two characters' belief systems.
Addie, God gave you children to comfort you hard human lot, and for a token of his suffering and love. For in love you conceived and bore them. He gave us the gift to raise our voices in his undying praise.
My daily life is an acknowledgement and expiation of my sin.
Well, who are you to judge what is sin and what is not sin? It's the Lord's part to judge, ours to praise his mercy and his holy name in the hearing of our fellow mortals.
Addie views life as insignificant because, as her father told her, the reason for living is getting ready to stay dead. With this, she feels as though the choices that shape her life do not matter, because in the larger plan she is insignificant and one day she will be dead. Even though both Cora and even Addie herself do not see Addie as a true Christian, there's something very Christian about this belief. Viewing oneself as just a small part of a much bigger picture, like Addie does, makes a person less vain than someone who is self-righteous and conceited like Cora. However, Addie does not view life this way because of her Christianity, but because of her own personal beliefs and because of what her father told her growing up. Addie believes in the God she could see. She believes that a person's savior is one they make for themselves, like Jewel, her illegitimate son, was for her. He was the product of love and lust, the only luxury she allowed herself, and a simultaneous affront against the life she had with her husband Ance. In this way, Jewel saved her and gave her a small bit of happiness, because he was purely hers with no relation to the life she so despised. Addie believes that there is nothing after death, and because of that she believes that what one does on this earth has no standing or significance at all. This is why she conducts herself in the way that she does. She consistently deviates from the popular teachings of Christianity and looks down upon people who need words, rules, and definite sin to be able to live with themselves. She is very aware of how she feels and who she is, but she chooses to keep silent about it, living very much in her own head.
Cora thinks that she is a better Christian than Addie, and in terms of actually following Jesus, she probably is. However, Addie is far more humble and keeps her views to herself, which falls more in line with actual Christian values. Cora cares more about looking like a martyr and pointing out that others are sinners, and is offended and horrified whenever Addie openly rejects biblical teachings. This contradicts every belief Cora has and makes her believe that Addie is a selfish and godless woman. Cora is an extremely religious person, believing that God will judge and define what sin is, and that no person has the right to say what is considered a sin. She is, however, extremely judgmental of anyone who dares to stray from her literal dictations of the Bible. This is because she believes and practices a very literal form of Christianity. Despite her leave it to God ideals, she is incredibly hypocritical, constantly dictating how people live and judging them. Cora seems to think that she is special and that she can speak for God, while at the same time preaching that no one can speak for God and that only He can determine sin. She is very sanctimonious and conceited, thinking that her way is the only way, and trying to convert others, such as Addie, to her brand of Christianity.
Addie and Ance's youngest son, Vardamon, struggles with Addie's death because he is yet to gain his own understanding of the world. He tries to reconcile his confusing ideas about death in a conversation with his older brother, Darl.
Then what is your ma, Darl?
I haven't got here one, because if I had one, it is was. And if it is was, it can't be is, can it?
No.
Then I am not. Am I?
No. But you are, Darl.
I know it. That's why I am not is. Are is too many for one woman to follow.
Vardaman's perception of the world is incomplete and narrow because of his young age and inexperience with the world. The death of his mother is a huge blow to how he perceives the world, and the only way he has to understand it is by comparing it to things he has seen or done in the past. This is why he correlates the death of the fish he caught to the death of his mother. The proximity of their deaths, as well as their connection to Vardaman, creates a link between them in his mind. Vardaman's confusion on the matter of death is not helped by the erratic behavior of his surviving family members, who don't seem to have the time to help him understand what happened and why. The only one who has an actual conversation with Vardaman on the subject of death and how it changes a living thing is Darl. Their conversation seems to bring some closure for Vardaman, and he begins to adopt Darl's belief system, but his understanding of the gravity of the situation and the topic of conversation with Darl still seems incomplete.
Darl has deep views about the nature of human existence and death. He expresses part of these views when he says,
In a strange room you must empty yourself for sleep. And before you are emptied for sleep, what are you? And when you are emptied for sleep, you are not. And when you are filled with sleep, you never were. I don't know what I am. I don't know if I am or not. Jewel knows he is, because he does not know that he does not know whether he is or not. He cannot empty himself for sleep, because he is not what he is, and he is what he is not. Beyond the unlamped wall, I can hear the rain shaping the wagon that is ours, the load that is no longer theirs, that felled and sawed it, nor yet theirs, that bought it, and which is not ours either, lie on our wagon, though it does, since only the wind and the rain shape it only to Jewel and me, that are not asleep. And since sleep is not, and rain and wind are was, it is not. Yet the wagon is, because when the wagon is was, Addie Bundren will not be. And Jewel is, so Addie Bundren must be. And then I must be, or I could not empty myself for sleep in a strange room. And so if I am not emptied yet, I am is. How often have I lain beneath rain on a strange roof, thinking of home.
He becomes more confused and confusing when he starts to ponder existence in the past and in the present. If Addie existed in Darl's past, does she exist in Darl's present? What about characters who are alive? He asks these questions without phrasing them as questions, but it is clear that he is not entirely sure of the answers to them. He is sure that he exists and is alive in the moment, but he views death as an eraser that takes away one's whole existence, even in the past. After Addie's death, Darl moves more and more outside of his own point of view, until he eventually is so far outside of his own self that he appears to slip into insanity. Whether he is actually insane is unclear, as his family's intentions for committing him to an asylum by sending him off on a train are mostly out of personal selfishness.
The death of Addie Bundren brings up questions about death for each of the main characters in the novel. This affects how they deal with it, based on their personal beliefs. Darl and Vardaman believe in the now, without any concerns for the past or what it once meant, while Addie does not believe there is an afterlife and holds a pessimistic view of the world overall. These differing beliefs move along the events of the story and create conflict between the characters who view the world differently, such as Cora, whose views stick to the more traditional Christian values. This not only sheds light on the relationships between the characters, but also on the characters themselves. Often, the disconnect between characters in terms of their beliefs and religious views creates a tense atmosphere around the characters, affecting their actions and emotions throughout the story. The characters try to avoid this tension by leaving each other's beliefs alone, but this only serves to make the family more broken. In the end, the differing beliefs of the family is what drives them into tragedy.